I think one thing we need to discuss here and talk through is if we were to require or request, I guess require would be the more appropriate word, an entry at Petaluma Avenue and Sebastopol Avenue, does that necessarily imply that that would be the only entry? I, myself, in analyzing this or thinking about it, I haven't thought that way. I was thinking that the proposal, which is advocated by a number of people who have commented on this, the proposal for a door at Sebastopol Avenue and Petaluma Avenue, that would be pedestrian friendly, obviously, but there presumably would be a second door, whether that's facing Petaluma Avenue at the south end of the building or more facing the parking lot. That's something to be talked about. But I don't follow the analysis here as one where we're necessarily limited to just a single door. And I can think of many reasons for having more than one door, but I don't, I just want to clarify that.
Well, that may be okay as well. I'm concerned about the distance to travel to get into the store from, so two could be discussed.
Okay.
Well, I like the more than one door idea for several reasons, especially when the door is placed on the corner or placed on either sidewalk. And I'll tell you why. This is a huge building for us. It has huge, massive lengths of long wall. And if it had more entrances, it would have the appearance of being maybe more than one business. If there was articulation in that exterior wall that looked different, maybe it wouldn't just seem like one big CVS. I mean, there's a possibility that you could minimize the appearance of having a huge footprint for one business by dividing it up with different doors. You could even divide it up internally if you felt like it and have a pharmacy, a sundries, and a liquor store and effectively have 3 different smaller stores in an entry. I know that's not your business practice, but I say that to share with you the concept I'm thinking, which is from the outside, this building could look smaller than it does. It could look like more different things than one great big thing. And having more than one entrance would help that. It's also going to help people get into the building because not all of us are going to want to park and walk in a door from a parking lot. The notion is, and the notion you're promoting is that you're going to put sidewalks in, and for some reason people are going to walk to this busy corner on improved crosswalks, and they need doors to get to. And if they have to walk all the way around a long, massive wall that has windows with a 4-foot box in them and solid bays, I think it just kind of defeats the whole purpose of a walkable, pedestrian-friendly, small-town downtown. So I like having more than one door, and I like the suggestion to move that door around. And maybe there is even a better suggestion, maybe for the people who need parking lot access, maybe they get a door further into the property and the pedestrians get a door on the sidewalk side. I mean, I don't know because I'm not a designer, but I think I want us to look at the issues of having this big building appear so much smaller and more accessible to us by having multiple entrances. And there was a time when a lot of businesses had more than one entrance. I can remember at Long's, for instance, you could go in, from both ends of the store. And yes, they did close that, and it made the store a lot less fun and a lot less convenient. I think we all lived prior to this with more than one door, and we could put it in there and divide this space up and have it be a lot more available to people from the sidewalk access and from the parking lot.
Well, there's a certain logic to having a door for people coming to the business by car. There is a large parking lot, and obviously a number of people will drive to the business. That kind of goes without saying. But that corner there of Petaluma Avenue and Sebastopol Avenue faces out to really the rest of residential Sebastopol. I would venture to say that probably 90% of the residential population of Sebastopol, if people were choosing to come to the business on foot, that would be the first point of arrival for them, or many of them anyway, at that corner. maybe I'm wrong on that, because if you're walking from the south, then I guess you could come in from the other way. But having that corner door, the building does make a statement to the city around it, and I think it's an odd statement if there is not an entryway at that corner, and I say that on the basis that we are, our guidelines do value pedestrian access and friendliness, and the absence of a door for the pedestrian patrons, I don't think that's appropriate. I have problems with that. I do appreciate the security concerns, the business operations concerns. I think those are legitimate concerns. We're approving a building, a structure as a building, though, and not necessarily a business. The business is already approved. I mean, the retail operation, all of that is already permitted, and it's certainly legitimate and appropriate for the area. So it's something I think the council has to deliberate on, and we'll probably return to that, but it's definitely a pretty deep issue, in my mind at least, as to whether we're going to want to have an entry door there at the corner of Petaluma Avenue and Sebastopol Avenue. And I do appreciate Councilmember Slater's elegant proposal to just shift that door from facing to the south and have it face to the west, so it faces onto Petaluma Avenue. But that alone, if that's the only door, I still think that would leave a situation where you've got that very prominent corner, probably the second most prominent intersection in town, without a doorway there. I think if there were a doorway there, it would be a nice expression of pedestrian friendliness. That's my view. Anyone else want to comment? Yeah, thank you, Mr. McDermott. You're very patient. If you want to respond to what you've just heard.
Thank you, Mayor, and all of the council who deliberated on that item there. Obviously, we've made our points and concerns about the second entrance, the security issues. From what I'm hearing, those are understood. Councilmember Gurney, I think, made a very good point about the idea of multiple doors creating the look of multiple businesses. What we've tried to do in this design is find that common, that middle ground point to where the design can provide the look of a second entrance. As you're driving by, it appears to be an entrance, but still performs the functionality that our business requires. So this is one of those things where we didn't just take, the finding clearly said, consider a door at the Petaluma and Sebastopol corner. I think that the design that was resubmitted to design review and before you this evening is evident that we did consider that door, and that we attempted, we looked at it, we tried to find a way to make that work. The design guideline that Councilmember Slater referenced, and I apologize now, I had so many pieces of paper in front of me here, talks about the repetitive openings, and I'm paraphrasing. So I couldn't find it, I didn't have it. Rhythm, size, and proportion of openings, parentheses, windows, doors, should create a consistent and harmonious design. That's what we attempted to do with this. Windows and doors. The comments about rotating the door 90 degrees, it's completely acceptable. We certainly understand that facing the Petaluma frontage makes sense. We'll be willing to make that modification. And again, it's away from, we designed it that way not only just to face the parking lot, but it also faced the gathering place, the plaza. It opened right up into that large plaza. We rotated and it faces Petaluma. Now it's directly across from the Burnett crossing, signalized crossing. It provides a great opportunity there. So again, we feel like we've addressed the finding. We've considered it. We've made our case as to why it doesn't work from an operational standpoint and why our design is the way it is, that it's an attempt to reflect the conditions of the guidelines, the design guidelines.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let's move to finding number 3B. Section IF of the design review guidelines, site planning guidelines regarding auxiliary structures, in that the trash and recycling enclosures merit additional screening to reduce visibility from the Sebastopol Avenue sidewalk. Response of the applicant is as follows. In order to better comply with section IF of the design review guidelines, site planning guidelines regarding auxiliary structures, the trash and recycling enclosures were redesigned to face away from the street, and additional screening in brick to match the buildings has been proposed to eliminate visibility from the Sebastopol Avenue sidewalk.